I think I see a lot of lawbreakers up in this house.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sode Casty for Me, podcast about film culture, politics, and Steven Soderbergh, where we watch every film directed by American filmmaker Steven Soderbergh and explore how they speak to their moment. And this one, the show is hosted by two guys. I'm one of the guys. My name is Jake Serwin.
I'm one of the guys. My name is Ian Ryan. Jake, we're not talking about it on this episode, but I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing?
Yeah, this is I'm doing well. Well, no, I'm all fucked up. I went overseas.
You did.
And I came back and
food diet.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's insane. That sucks so bad. Cancel the show.
Bunch of guys.
Well, I just watched a video interview with the star of this film in which she makes a seafood diet joke. So that might be.
Never mind. We're even dumber than we thought because we were thinking about it for the same reason.
That's so stupid. Anyway, I went over the sea where I food diet.
Yeah.
And I came back and the jet lag has been making me even weirder and dumber than normal. Mm-hmm. Although my sleep schedule was so fucked up that I'm kind of sleeping more normally now for LA time.
I could understand
but
this.
I still feel really weird. I feel like I'm between dimensions a little bit.
You're looking very liminal today. It's true.
Thank you. It's the limes. Is that anything? That sucks. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I am in some ways overseas. Aren't we all overseas to somebody else on the planet?
Sick of them.
Yeah.
Let's get some K's or S's in there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. I was thinking maybe you meant vitamins, but I'm not familiar with the vitamin S. You got this.
Vitamin S. Scorpion. It's eating a little scorpion. You know, like at the Science Museum where they have the lollipop with the scorpion in it?
Hey, you know what? I saw a big scorpion yesterday. So there you go. That's the story. Yep.
Mazel tov.
I had been working all day and it was like 10:30 at night and I had been sitting down for like 6 hours and I was like, I gotta get out. Gotta get my steps in, you know? We're all aging men here. We're
gotta go find my steps in. My steps in Ronnie. He's gone missing.
Yeah, gotta find my steps in. And I went out and I did a little walk around and I almost stepped on a big scorpion. And I tried to look around to make sure nobody else is going to step on it. And I realized like this is not something I'm prepared to try to just like accost strangers and say like, look out. And I just said, well, we'll just let it unfold. And that's fine.
And then the scorpion said, get over here. Mortal Kombat.
That's Mortal Kombat. All right.
Let's bring our guest in because I want to ask him about scorpions.
Me too.
Really quick.
One of our guests is confused. It seems impossible. We haven't had him before. But yeah, sorry, do the business.
Yeah, well, we're just like bad and rude. That's a pretty easy explanation. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/podcasty for me. Enough of that. Joining us today is a long overdue guest, a podcaster, and I hope it's okay to say a dank meme lord of the left. Welcome to the show. Our buddy Evan from Left of the Projector.
Hey Evan, what's going on?
Hey, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, you're not in scorpion territory, but you've...
Spider.
Spiders, which is the scorpion's cousin, of course.
It's true.
Have you ever seen a scorpion, though? You've traveled around.
I've never in the wild at a zoo.
Okay. A zoo. Oh yeah, that's like an exotic scorpion. Have you ever been to the Science Museum with the scorpion in the lollipop?
Oh yeah.
No, but I have seen those before in a fancy store in London years ago. They had like ant candy and like scorpion lollipops and stuff. And
going to Harrods to check out the big scorpion.
That's exactly where it was.
They have the scorpion that killed Diana in there, and they put her body in the car. I don't know if I told the story on the podcast about when my dad lived in Vegas and the cat just like walked into the living room with a live scorpion in his mouth.
Wow, I don't think so.
Yeah, we're all like, because like we were thinking the scorpion was gonna sting him and kill him.
Yeah,
and
I had this identical experience.
Yeah, he just dropped it, and then we hit it with a shoe. And it was like a little scorpion, like an inch long, and I was like 13 when this happened, so I'm not responsible for the murder of the scorpion. Just so everybody.
Whenever I go camping or I've gone camping, I'm always afraid of one being in my shoe.
You gotta hit your boots on the ground.
Yeah. Yep. Smart.
Yeah. That's why whenever Ian and I are in the same place, he always says, we should knock boots. And I'm like, you're right. For the scorpion, we should do that.
Yeah.
And then bumping uglies, I guess, is some other kind of a scorpion thing.
Could
that
be.
fell off, huh? People don't really say bump uglies anymore.
It's true. I mean,
to the extent that they
why
ever
are people
did.
saying that? That's...
I don't know. It's an insult to the beautiful, the beautiful genital.
It sounds like something like a Tumblr era.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
I remember it from a comic book, and I'm feeling embarrassed now. We also joining us for this series is our friend, the virtual assistant from the 2022 Steven Soderbergh film Kimmy. It's Kimmy. Hey, Kimmy.
Hey, Kimmy, what's going on?
Hello, Ian, Jake, and esteemed guest Evan Projector. It's me, Kimmy.
Hi, Kimmy. How are you? It's been a while.
Stained.
Right. Been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
She likes that. What's up with you? Is there anything new going on with you, Kimmy?
I'm available to babysit.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
the most threatening thing she's ever said.
Yeah. Do you mean one of the three of us?
I don't,
I've gone quiet.
Oh, okay. Really frightening. Well, maybe we'll check in with you in a little bit, Kimmy. Let's get into our signature segment, the two questions, which I said Kimmy we'd get to in a bit, but Kimmy, can you come back and tell us what the segment is?
Sorry, Kimmy.
It's time for the two questions, our signature segment where we ask each other two questions.
Thank you so much. Evan, you let us know that you have actually two questions for us. You've gone above and beyond.
Well, okay, sure. I do have two. I have two questions.
You can have one.
And they're
if you
both
want.
bubble related.
Oh, great.
Great. We love that.
I try going for the theme. So my first question is, what is the best TV or movie bubble related? I guess it could be like, somewhat related to bubble. I feel like I have only two that I can think of, so maybe there's no other bubble related movies.
to the concept of a bubble, or to this film specifically?
No, to the concept of bubble and like another movie or another TV show.
Yeah. I was thinking about watching Bubble Boy or The Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
God, it's
I haven't seen either of them. I believe Bubble Boy has Jake Gyllenhaal in it, like a
little otter
man,
Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna say The Wizard of Oz, where Glinda,
of course, that
arrives on a bubble.
Answer.
Were you gonna say that?
I was gonna say
sorry.
that. Yeah.
And then I also looked up and did not watch the OVA series Bubblegum Crisis because I just had that sticky phrase. Hey, ironic. In my head. And looked it up, and apparently it's like just fine. It's like not that good. Oh, and also one last thing, I believe it's from the intro sequence of Scooby-Doo. Where Are You? Where Scooby blows a big bubble,
sure, yeah,
and it gets all over his face, and then his tongue comes out and does like a clock sweep around his whole face, and the gum is gone.
He swallows the gum. Yeah, it gets really sick.
You can't just use a tongue to cleanly sweep gum off, especially a dog's face, all the little hair.
I'm starting to think this might be
Scooby-Doo
fake.
is fake. I
See,
saw that
I was also
the
thinking like it didn't have to be
Debbie
like an
Doebereiner.
actual bubble. It could be bubble gum. Actually, was what I was thinking of. It's like one of the ones. If I were to answer my own question, I would think.
You're
gonna have
you
to.
should. Yeah.
Should I answer my own question?
Well,
I was thinking, does Biodome count as a bubble?
Yeah, I was thinking Under the Dome, which is a show I never watched, but was on immediately before or after a show that I watched religiously. I don't know if it was Lost or what, but Under the Dome, I feel like was this. It was. I almost like avoided it. It was a Stephen King adaptation,
It was, yeah.
And I think it was like I don't know. I hate television so much, and I don't really know. Like I feel like it's my enemy for some reason. I don't know why I have this animosity toward it. I'm sorry to everyone. I'm sorry to the television, but Under the Dome especially seemed like offensive to me in some way. Does that make sense?
Not really. Do you mean it was offensive in the sense of like it shouldn't have like it shouldn't exist? Like why is this? Why has somebody made this?
Yeah, it's like waste of money, waste of like collective attention.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like Stephen King. It's another thing. I think that guy's a dumbass. And I guess he's in the Epstein files, it seems like. Because remember when he said they were fake?
Oh yeah, that's probably true.
It's weird. Ian, bubble.
Well, I'm gonna try to go a different angle with it. I'm gonna say, I don't want to be
Bubble
like
doesn't
that.
have no angle on the bubble. Famously.
Well, it has 360 angles.
What?
Okay, forget it. There is, of course, the famous bubble bath scene in films, and in our film, bubble bath. There's a bubble bath.
There is a bubble bath.
So I'm going to say, I mean, we got our old friend JR, Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman. She's in a bubble bath.
Yes.
It's a good one.
We got, what else? Some Like It Hot, I think, has a bubble bath scene in it. I guess, like,
Yeah.
Billy
Madison.
Billy Madison. Yes,
I think we said it at the same
coordinated. They both rose into the air a little bit and vibrated. Barry Lyndon, bubble bath scene, I think, in that film as well.
Yeah, bubble bath.
Bubble bath. Yeah, bubble bath.
Another famous. Are there bubbles in the scene at the beginning of Coming to America where the lady says the royal penis is clean?
Oh,
I don't think so.
I don't know if there are either. Where she like comes up out of the water, you're saying? The classic.
There's a no bubble bath.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where, like, is a naked lady funny? There's so many of those comedies, especially like a John Landis. It's like the naked. It was always a question for me: is the nudity? Is it another thing I'm laughing at, or is it sort of like
it's another of life's pleasures?
Is it the pepperoncini that comes with the pizza?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that is part of it. Although I will also say it's funny to have a lady like, and she's sort of like non-sexually declares it. That's kind of funny. That's not a bad bit.
Yeah, but it's definitely, it's like, I think it's titillation on the side. You know,
I think so too. Yeah.
What about the Big Lebowski? Does he have a bubble bath? Or
he does. I believe it's a bubbly bath. With the marmot?
Remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Of course.
Yeah.
Taker Johnson.
Yeah.
Johnson. Cinema's great bubble baths. Where's more? Listeners, if you can think of any bubble baths.
Hot Tub Time Machine, is that a kind of a bubble bath?
It is. And there was there's also a bubble bath scene in the first. Was it Hot Tub Time Machine?
Is that true?
Ian, that famous day when you and I drove to like several movie theaters to see like 3 films in the same day. One of them was Hot Tub Time Machine 2, right?
That's right. Very good, man. This must have been I guess when it was coming out. The audience can figure out very precisely what it was.
I don't remember what the other movies were. Evan, there was a day where Ian and I went to 2 movies at the AMC Century City and then one at the Landmark, which is relevant to today's discussion. But like we drove, we I think just to make a point of doing it, we went to 3 movies in different movie theaters in the same day.
I don't think I've ever done 3. I've done 2. Can't say I've ever done 3.
It's fun to do. You might have to be like 24 when you're doing it. I don't know if that. I think it's. I'm getting stressed out thinking
Otherwise
about
you finish
doing it
a
now.
movie and you realize you have enough sort of like self-awareness to say, I think I'm going to go home now. I think I had a good time with my friend.
I have obligations.
I have other stuff to do. Cool. Great question.
That's the bubble question.
Yeah.
Evan, did you have another one, or do you want one of us to?
Well, you go.
Sure. Okay, great. This is an easy one. Have you ever, or would you ever, go on a date with a coworker? Have you ever gone? Would you ever go?
Evan, what do you think?
I have not. I have never.
Would you ever? Would you consider this?
No.
Yeah, that's smart.
I think it would be a very, it'd be tough. Especially if we got, something happened. You have to like go to work.
Exactly.
Then. Yeah. That's the worst part.
Like if the woman got murdered immediately afterwards.
I think your instincts are correct. It's extreme. It's like inherently very murky waters to wade into. Even though, as adults, I think we all understand that's like 90% of the people you might interact with are your coworkers. So it's also like the most natural thing in the world.
My father and stepmother met in a workplace context. I have never done this. I have been. There's like not a. I guess there was a brief period in my working life where I was single, but I was also like the youngest person in the office by like several years. Mm-hmm. So I was sort of like a little boy, just like trying to be a normal person, having a conversation with like a woman in her late 40s next to me about how like I don't know her her husband got laid off or something. I'm like, do you know about Pokemon or anything like that?
I mean, this is kind of what our movie is about today also.
Yeah.
This is not not Bubble. All right, great.
It's not Bubble. But no, I've never done this. I am looking to knock boots with a certain someone I work with, and not my main job, but sort of a auxiliary
side
something
income stream. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, no problem. Don't shit where you eat, I guess, what they always say stuff like that. Right?
Unless you're like, I guess the lesson is unless you're very, very confident about your shitting or eating, I guess,
I would
in this
say,
metaphor.
yeah, and also just like, slow your roll, make sure that you're aware of the changes that you would have to make to your life to make this happen, and if it's
if things were to go wrong, is this the type of person you'd be comfortable continuing to work with, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, exactly. Because you can, like, if you're careful about shitting, and like it's obviously can't be too, it has to be pretty solid so that it's not going to sort of flow out into where you eat.
This is disgusting, but it is, I think it does still fit. Like, it's not, nobody's saying that it's not achievable. It's just saying that it's not advisable.
At my old job, I knew, not where I work now, my previous job, there was 3 people who at the company got married to someone who worked at that company. Whoa. But then like 3 of them, like, some of them left, so they didn't all work together and married together, but they met at my job, got married, and then like we're at different companies. But it's kind of weird for that to happen like 3 times in the same place.
Well, there's also like, I mean, there's levels of, obviously, Jim and Pam is much less appropriate than Pam and Roy, because Roy is in a different part of the building, if we recall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's, I mean, that's borderline like you work next door to somebody, which I think is.
But I guess she didn't know at the time that Jim and Roy were 2 of the secret soldiers of Benghazi. They're both in that movie.
Yeah, how could she have known? I don't think it had happened yet.
It hadn't.
Yeah.
Were they planning for it? Did they know something?
Yeah.
Is Jan involved? Is Toby involved?
It's great.
Toby's too stupid to be involved.
Oh, yeah.
The perfect cover. Okay, let's talk about the movie. So today we're talking about the film Bubble. Steven Soderbergh's Bubble. Now, Evan, do you have any prior relationship to this film or to Steven Soderbergh in general?
I have no relation to this film. I had actually not really had heard of it until you approached me to discuss this. But as far as it's funny because it's sandwiched between some like really good, Soderbergh films. Well, I mean, he has lots of good films, but it's like sandwiched between, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. Yeah, Hot Streak, you could say. And I mean, for me, like the very first film that I can think of his that I ever saw, I saw Out of Sight in the theater, but I remember not liking it when I saw it in the theater. I was only 15, so like pretty young to see it. And then I saw it, I rewatched it again recently. I think it was before your episode came out, and I'm like, man, this movie actually is awesome. I love this movie.
And then, it rips.
And then the same thing when it comes to like the Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 is one of those movies, I think you talked about it on your episode, is I could put that on at any moment, any time, and just watch the rest of the whole movie. And that's kind of how some of his early films are. The same with probably even Aaron Brockovich or Ocean's 12 or Ocean 13. Those are just, you could just watch them. So I always, in my mind, when I think of his films, I always just think of Ocean's 11, 12, 13. So, yeah. And I went to the smoke shop that they went to in Amsterdam in Ocean's 12 too.
Oh, wow.
So when I was in Amsterdam this past week, I also went to that place. I tried to take a picture in front of the fancy hotel where they all stay, and there was a guy there who said, this is a little preview we're going to talk about this on Patreon, but there's a guy there who said, are you staying at the hotel? And I said, no, I just wanted to take a photo in front of it. And he goes, I'm sorry, it's not possible.
That doesn't seem right. I think he might have tricked you. I think he might have pulled an Ocean's 12 style scheme.
I realized what happened, which is that there had been some kind of, I happened to be there at the same time as some kind of public classical music performance thing that was on television, and they were dismantling one of the stages, which had been right in front of so basically it was like there's a bunch of like half assembled pipe down there. You shouldn't go over there unless you work for the pipe disassemblers. But it did seem just like he also he looked remarkably like Julia Roberts. I didn't mention this.
Yes.
That's a different part of the movie.
Yeah.
She's not even in the Amsterdam part. Fucking stupid idiot. But you'd never seen the film before, Evan?
Nope, never seen it.
I had not either. And I was really surprised, delighted by the film.
Yeah, let's just get right into it, guys. Lest you think we were slighting you, Evan, can I just say that I think this is a huge app.
This is a
so
big app.
excited to talk about this film.
This is a big app. I'm excited too. The film was released January 27th, 2006. Day and date.
And how.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Premiered at the Venice Film Festival in September 2005. I got a quick zeitgeist check-in for us. This is sort of a selection of the things that are happening in the world around this time. So, Hurricane Katrina hits August 2005. The Danish newspaper Jyllands-Posten publishes cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad. It's a great controversy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Xbox 360 is released.
Oh, okay.
Evo Morales is elected president of Bolivia.
Oh, huge.
Hamas wins a majority of seats in the Second Palestinian Legislative Council. This is like January like right when this movie is coming out. And then a mere 6 days prior to this film's release, January 21st, 2006. You guys already know what I'm going to say. YouTuber iShowSpeed celebrated his first birthday.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, that's what's going on. Also, it premiered at Venice, out of competition. A lot of stuff going on at Venice that year. That's when the Golden Lion goes to Brokeback Mountain. We talked about the Venice Film Festival on the last episode.
We did.
Because was it Criminal that premiered there?
I was Criminal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to derail us too much with too much Venice stuff, but somehow the film Final Fantasy VII Advent Children played at Venice 2 years in a row. What is happening?
No, you already told us about Advent Children last episode, Jake.
Yeah, it played there 2004 and 2005.
And it was La Sorpresa both times. Hey,
yeah.
We're back.
Magnifico. It also, David Strathairn wins the Volpe Cup for Best Actor for Good Night and Good Luck.
Whoa, cool.
There. And Christine Vachon, the producer, indie producer extraordinaire, Todd Haynes' producer.
Of course, yep.
She was on the jury. She had just produced Far From Heaven with Steven Soderbergh and would go on to produce First Reformed. So she's in our orbit here, or we're in hers. Okay, so Bubble. This is Steven Soderbergh's sort of return to. He's returning to a couple of threads.
I mean, it's interesting that you said this is sort of like in a big like powerhouse sandwich, because at least my understanding from like reading contemporary publications is that people felt like he was in kind of a slump, like maybe he was coming off of his hot streak, because people were cool on Ocean's 12. We didn't feel that way.
You're right. You're right.
There's sort of a sense of like, is old Soderbergh going back to the woods? Is that what's happening
Cool on
here?
12. Yeah, he had Ocean's 11, which was a big old smash and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But then, he'd had Solaris. You're right.
But didn't the second Ocean's 12 still made like buckets of money at the box office? It's like, what are they expecting?
I think there's one of those weird things where it like makes a lot of money, but there is an inescapable
comparison,
like, whiff of momentum lost.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
As happens with like every Marvel movie now, right? Like David Ayer's Suicide Squad,
continuously losing momentum, defying Newtonian physics.
You managed to make like $780 million, and everyone's like, this was a disappointment.
That's right.
So he is back with Coleman Huff. This is sort of a spiritual sequel to Full Frontal.
I guess to just declare myself, I'm a Huff head. I'm high on Huff.
You're huffing?
Yeah, I'm huffing. I'm so sorry that we've lost her, of course, as we talked about on our Full Frontal episode. But
right, so he's working with playwright and screenwriter Coleman Huff again. It's interesting to think of this film as involving a screenwriter because it's so improvised and derived from stories that they
screenwriting
collected. Yeah. So there's, I think, two sort of veins of production context to talk about here. First of all, the film comes out of a deal that Soderbergh strikes with the Dallas Maverick himself, Mark Cuban,
of course,
the man with the largest head in the entire
American Dragon's Den fame. Yeah.
Is this Magnolia Pictures? Is that what you're talking about?
So it's HDNet.
Oh, right.
Which was his, but it's also Magnolia. So Cuban he's this weird figure who gets to, I mean, he literally bought a basketball team called the Mavericks. He wants to think of himself as like a disruptor.
Yeah.
And I think because he's like not like the most runaway successful billionaire mogul, he gets to kind of act like he's an underdog somehow still, even though he literally owns a basketball. But he's never hit Bill Gates, Elon Musk like saturation point or something. So he acts like he's sort of apart from. But he's a guy who I think started with broadband.com, like a sports radio internet sort of aggregator in the 90s, and becomes a kind of new media mogul, and he's in the middle of trying to vertically integrate like a whole. He's trying to basically like reverse the Paramount consent decree while no one's really paying attention.
Right.
And so at this point, he has Magnolia Pictures, which is the distribution arm. He's got HDNet, which is a TV channel, and he has just purchased with what's the guy's name? Todd Fuckface. What's the other guy?
Doesn't he also own all the Landmark theaters too?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
That's what I was going to say. Is he owns the Landmark theaters. So he owns theaters. He owns a distribution company, and he owns a TV channel. And he makes a deal with Soderbergh to make 6 films. It's an announced 6 films. Soderbergh's in a real announcing phase. He's going Del Toro mode at this point. And they announced that they're going to make 6 movies that are going to come out in theaters, on HDNet, on DVD and VOD, day and date.
Right.
And this scares the fucking shit out of distributors, which is really funny that anyone was scared of the movie Bubble, like having any effect on the.
It is funny, but also
film
like
industry.
The way it's characterized in, like, I don't know if you read this Believer article where they interviewed Soderbergh, but the way they frame it is like studio executives are quaking in their boots. Like these guys, like their grip
like,
is loosening. Yeah,
they were like making like public announcements about like they were damning this film.
What did they think was going to happen though?
Well, they were worried about there's a lot of. When you go back in the Variety archives, which I always recommend people do, it's a lot of fun. It's fascinating in there. This is a time of like great upheaval. Digital cinema, both filming, both production and digital exhibition are like changing everything over. Everyone's getting in a fight about who's going to pay to put digital projectors in all these theaters. That was like a huge sticking point between the studios and the chains.
Little do we know, of course, this was an Aliens versus Predators. Whoever wins, we lose situation, because
exactly piracy, and then piracy, is and broadband speeds and all of the technology to make and distribute movies is now becoming rapidly democratized faster than the people who used to like own all of that equipment can keep up with it.
Saturation of cable subscribers, so like suddenly like that's a real option, and this possibility of VOD.
And so Soderbergh has always been like an early adopter and an experimenter, a tinkerer, and wants to try out the new stuff, and is not afraid of expanding what cinema can be. He continues to be that way, which is fine and like not necessarily a good or bad thing, I think. But he is interested in, he's also, he's like ambivalent about being a Hollywood guy, right? Because he comes out of Sundance. He's like halfway a European art cinema devotee and half like an entertainer. And so I think he signs a deal with Cuban to make these 6 movies that are going to come out day and date, and they're going to be like small and weird, and he's going to have full creative control, which sounds great.
Yep. Like
if you're a movie director. And people like the head of NATO, the other NATO, the theater exhibitors organization. They're like literally they want to like shoot him in the head. They are fucking terrified about this. Even though I think it's because they're like, well, if this happens with Ocean's 11, we're fucked. But he's doing it with the experimental film he shot in Belpre, Ohio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, M. Night Shyamalan is like, there are other directors that are coming out of the woodwork to say, like, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. Bob Iger sort of emerges from the Speed Force to say, like, I'm excited to fuck everyone over with this new shattered theatrical window. And Soderbergh himself is saying, like, you know, our idea here is that if you like the movie, on your way out, you can buy the DVD from the concession stand, which, like, I guess that's fine or whatever.
This goes back to the without derailing is like, I wish you could buy so much more stuff related to movies at the theater. Like, I feel like it's a big miss in general. Well, like posters, DVD, you know, shit like that.
R.I.P. the Landmark Theater where Ian and I saw many movies. Ian, we've talked about this on the show before. Ian used to literally donate blood in exchange for passes to the Landmark Theater.
So I basically had two free movies a month to go see.
They did sell DVDs. They sold like, they had like 12 DVDs at a time, all of, I don't know if they were all Magnolia Pictures stuff. They were all, they were like a mix of sort of obvious Oscar bait that no one cared about, and like the kind of geezer pleasers from like before the Liam Neeson, before the old guy action movie, the stuff where it would just be like a movie about Charlotte Rampling, like on vacation in France or whatever, like meeting, or like the one of those movies where like Danny Glover becomes friends with a penguin or whatever. Sorry, Jean Reno is the one who became friends with a penguin. They did sell stuff there. There's now, you know, there's a couple places in LA that are like the Alamo Drafthouse has, I think you can like rent movies from there, but that whole place is like, I mean, it's gropey. The whole energy of the place is gropey. So I don't know. We're all working it out here.
Yeah, and look, I'm curious because I don't want to defend this because now we understand where it led. It led to Netflix like swallowing and trying to kill the cinema and also replace the cinema with their not just distributed films but like produced slop. But
right,
I mean,
and so many of the studios then trying to like copy Netflix and Disney putting movies on their streaming service instead of in the theater and all that stuff.
But if I can be the annoying devil's advocate, what Soderbergh is talking about, he is like hitting that famous note of democratizing cinema. He's saying like, this is an art film that, you know, is like whatever, like $1 million budget, and there's huge swaths of the country that would normally, under normal circumstances, just not be able to see this movie. And I mean, including like the people in this film, Bubble would not make it to Belpre, Ohio. And I don't know, I guess not to say that I'm defending the direction that streaming VOD type stuff has gone, but now that I live in a place where, I mean, Oaxaca gets presents and black bag, but like there are places nearby, not that far from me, that don't even have movies to begin with. And if they are going to drive to a movie theater, it's to like a three screen, basically like Marvel projection location. So
right.
I don't know. I guess I'm curious what you guys think. Like, is this something that people deserve? I mean, is it not to say that we like have to make this trade off, but do we care whether the world has access to films like this, or do the downsides just outweigh the positives? Where are we at here?
I mean, the problem too is like you have these movie theaters, even like the really big ones. Like even if they do get these movies, they're going to put it on one screen and have it have 3 showings, you know, the day if you're lucky. So even if you live in a big city, you might not even get to see it at all. So I do see. I mean, what you really need is like a version of Netflix that's not Netflix, that's showing these smaller. Like, you know, those kinds of things where you can actually watch, you know, these kind of films. That's not Netflix.
I mean, obviously, just like space-wise, there's too many movies for there to be for even an art house in every city with more than 90,000 people in it to have a theater playing all of the interesting stuff. that comes out. But like the solution can't be a new form of vertical integration a la like the Paramount Theater that only plays Paramount movies. Although sort of ironically, this ended up only playing in landmark theaters because all the other chains refused to show it out of protest. Which is funny to imagine, like AMC jumping at the opportunity to show a 73-minute.
It's funny, except of course this was kind of I don't know. I mean, I'm sure both of you guys recall, and most of our listeners, the Movie Pass. Like, oh yeah, they had like BDS for Movie Pass, basically from like a distributor who initially would say like, we're going to stand up against this and try to forbid it, and then they sort of like folded one by one.
Yeah, don't worry, Movie Pass is just going to fall. Don't worry about that. But like the solution,
scheme,
the solution. It can't be like Mark Cuban gets all the money out of this, or like,
of course,
you know, the things that seem like they're going to be the anti-Netflix, like Mubi or whatever, then just turn out to be Mossad. Like, you know, they're just full of like Israeli money or like
a Reed Hastings, like he's got his own like straight up political agenda. I'm not saying this as like a pseudo political agenda, but like truly like we're remaking the world in the
stated
edutainment vision or whatever.
Yeah, step 1 Bird Box, step 2 charter schools somehow.
Exactly.
Like
the studios make it so hard for anyone to even. I mean, think about the money you need to be able to start a movie or whatever. Like eventually they're going to go to some shady, you know, funding thing, and that's just it sucks. Like Watermelon Pictures is like a small one, but you know they can only show. They don't have a huge catalog kind of thing.
Right, and there's cool things happening at places like Means TV.
Our old friend Chris there. But like, it's obviously hard for them to get the license to anything, or if they're trying to produce stuff, the budget to make anything.
And they're producing their own stuff, but then like, and there's really great stuff on there, but like, you know, I can't, if I am only paying $5 a month enough times, suddenly I'm paying like $500 a month to get access to all the stuff that I want to watch. And my real question though is like, what is wrong with the window? I don't know. I'm speaking from a place of immense privilege, that place being Los Angeles, California,
like
where
a movie coastal elite in one of the two cities that gets to see everything that is ever produced.
Yesterday I walked to I walked to a movie theater to see Highest to Lowest, the new Spike Lee movie that's only getting shown in theaters, like a couple theaters for a week before it's dumped unceremoniously onto Apple TV Plus. Now, in this case, dumping I think is the correct move.
Sure,
the movie was very bad,
but yeah, I mean, look, I love both of these cities, to be clear, but it is rarefied air to be able to say, if I want to go see an Alice Rohrwacher movie, I have like 3 options of where to see it. I don't even have to like not just that I can, but I
can pick the one that I like the parking setup at.
Yeah, that's
best.
Crazy. That's so like, uncommon.
Through this show, I've been very privileged to make friends on the computer who are big movie heads who live outside of major metropoles who are like mad at me that I get to go see a movie because they have to wait 60 days. Even if you want to steal a movie, you have to wait 60 days for the VOD quality file to show up for somebody to rip.
Yep.
If you live in you know, Frankfort, Kentucky or whatever. And so then, you know, then it becomes kind of an issue of like, yes, you get to see the movie, but are you out of the cultural conversation? Are you... Does this sort of remove you from like the communal aspect of being a movie person? I don't know what the solution is. Soderbergh has, much later, he'll continue to experiment with distribution ideas with things like Mosaic and Logan Lucky. And he has talked more recently about like, there should be a button where after the Friday returns come in and you know whether a movie is going to play, there should just be a button where you launch it to VOD immediately. Like if it's not going to do Jurassic World numbers, you can just hit the button and like now it's a day and date, which there's some sense to that.
But then there's also like the Sinners situation, right? Which, you know, people really, I think, got excited about because that was more of like the recognizable like 90s or early 2000s model of people saw this. It wasn't exactly like an indie project, but The first week returns weren't huge, but people were excited about something that was both pretty accessible and a little bit different. And then they talked about it in the next weekend or whatever, had legs for like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks or something.
But people are fucking pissed at Ryan Coogler for the Sinners deal where he gets like the rights revert to him.
He wasn't even the first guy to get it, but
no, I know. But I think they're pissed about him because maybe there's something about him that's slightly different than the other guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm so much less worried about the threat to the movie industry from like someone getting creative control of their artistic work than I am about the threat of like, well, how do we deal with the fact of piracy? How do we deal with the fact of physical space making it difficult to distribute a movie to everyone all over the world who wants to see it?
And there's we've previously discussed the sort of like democracy question of, are elected officials, or in this case, like the people empowered to make films, are they meant to be representatives of the will of the people, and the people might not know what like the most interesting thing to make will be? Or are they meant to be more knowledgeable and saying like, hey, you know what? I think it's worth funding some bubbles, even if a huge portion of the home audience doesn't know that they might want to see a film with non-professional actors in kind of like a naturalistic setting. I don't know.
One thing's for sure is no one ended up winning from this. Yeah. So that's one side of the production context. The other side, of course, is like, what is this movie?
So, I mean, this film, classic film history where it has like 4 kind of competing origin stories that, I mean, they're not like contradictory, but I'm sure you came across these as well, Jake.
The film began on the back of a enormous turtle.
Right. Yeah, there's 2 versions of Genesis here. The first is kind of like Soderbergh finishes Ocean's 12 type stuff. He's already planning these other bigger, like Clooney related big projects. And he says, I want to go on the road. I want to leave Los Angeles and like make a movie in some part of the US. He says he's been
style kind of.
Yeah. He says he's been watching a lot of true crime, like in his free time, which is weird because I think I'm excited to discuss with you guys, but I think this film is kind of a rejection of like all the things that I dislike about true crime. So it's funny that he is just saying like he was a early 2000s fan of this genre, like Dateline or whatever, and wanted to make some. He said like these stories happen in normal parts of the world to kind of like normal people. And then he also has kind of just like an abstract desire to make a factory movie, like a movie about some type of like labor, repetitive labor specifically, he says. And he was thinking about different versions of this, like whether it's going to be a meat processing plant. And then they realized that was maybe too political in like a different angle. Like it would bring in like animal rights, jungly stuff. And then Coleman Huff discovered this doll factory, how like one of the last doll factories in the United States. And he was like, okay, this is perfect. And then what they did was basically just go there and say like, all right, we have this vague sense of what the film might be. And there's even some plot elements that like will get dropped entirely, but they just send Coleman and the casting director, whose name I think is Carmen Cuba, and collect stories so that we can turn this into a film. And then they start making it and shoot it in like 18 days, edit it while they shoot.
Shoot in 18 days. Soderbergh has a rough cut to show on the last day of shooting because he's been editing it all so quickly. And it's these non-professional actors from the local area of Belpre, Ohio, which is on the border with West Virginia, and then also Parkersburg, West Virginia, which is speaking of Todd Haynes.
Yes.
Speaking of Aaron Brockovich. Parkersburg, West Virginia is the town where the events of the film Dark Waters take place and the events of the real life chemical poisoning, like environmental disaster took place in Parkersburg. So like this is
right. And when you say it's across, I mean, these are like kind of one town basically divided by a river, like 2 states divided by a river.
Minneapolis, St. Paul situation. If there were like 1% of the number of people who live there.
Exactly. And when you say he found these people, I mean, literally it was like they found Misty Dawn Wilkins, the young woman character, in a beauty parlor that appears in the film.
Yep.
They got
Debbie Doebereiner was
Dustin James Ashley. It was a computer student, and boy is he ever like a computer student.
Yeah. Beautiful eyelashes on this.
Oh,
this
yeah.
young man.
Yeah.
Do you think it was hard
Gorgeous.
to convince them to do this, or think they're just like, this sounds awesome?
Well, so there's a great interview with Debbie Doebereiner, who plays Martha, who she was the manager of a KFC.
Yeah, the Carmen Cuba was like the casting director went to get KFC and
to lunch. Yeah,
Debbie Doebereiner was like not only was she managing the KFC, she was pushing some type of like promotional item that day, and the casting director was like, "Wow, she has like such a presence of personality without it being affected." She was just like, "Do you want to be in a movie?"
The inspiration behind the film Presence. That's where you got the name from. I was thinking about that. But there's a great interview with her by a filmmaker named Kata Mascaro that you can find on YouTube, where she just talks about, like, I've always been a ham. I love talking to people. She's like a real, outgoing type of person. So she really enjoyed being in the movie. The other people, there's not as much information on them.
What I heard is that they had a great time, and Soderbergh and Hoff talk about like that they kind of like got it as they went along, but without picking up actory affectation, which is what they wanted.
Yeah.
There was actually like an entire other character who apparently was cut from the film because
he was hamming too much.
Yeah, he was like he had an Adam and Eve awakening of being an actor basically, and they're like, okay, you can't be in the movie anymore.
Yeah,
but whereas these three people, what they joke about is like, well, it was really cute. Debbie would realize like. She would catch herself and say like, oh, I was holding the fork in my right hand in the last take. So like I have to keep like they had just like discovered like script supervising or something kind of like halfway.
And the way like the woman who plays Kyle's mom, Lori L. Wee, she didn't do anything any other acting, but then she has an associate producer credit on a film from 2016 called Gehenna Where Death Lives that like stars Doug Jones and Lance Henriksen and is directed by a guy who's like a special effects guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just like shot that in this part of West Virginia, but like some of these people end up doing other movie stuff and some of them don't. I mean, Misty Wilkins I think has like a silent movie face, like
yes,
you could see
she really does. Yeah,
she seems pulled directly out of like a German expressionist film. I don't know how someone looks like this in 2005. Debbie Doebereiner talks about how she does one other movie in
like 2020.
I saw that.
Yeah, where she plays a cop, and so
I mean, this is directed by Kata Mascaro, the guy who did the interview with her. That's his film. Or produced by.
Maybe produced, yeah. Sorry, it's directed by a guy who he seems to make a lot of, sorority party massacre, haunting of the innocent.
Sure.
Bro, what happened? So I don't know. He's from Columbus, so he probably shot in Columbus. But the way that Soderbergh and Huff talk about these people is there's a real friction between the way the film depicts this town and these people, which I think is extremely humane and
respectful,
unvarnished and impressive, and then the way they talk about these people is not great sometimes.
Well, like, I think so, I don't know. I think I actually found it depended on the interview, which made me wonder about just like the context in which they were talking about it.
Yeah. Let's talk about should we talk about the plot? How do you want to?
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I thought it might be in keeping with Bubble to have a non-professional podcasty person. Evan, do you think you could take the plot?
I mean, he's a very
summary?
professional podcaster, right?
You're right.
This
is a
characterization of Evan. But
sure.
Evan, do you want to be Debbie for us?
Yeah.
Be Debbie. Do I need to work at KFC? I don't work at KFC.
Oh,
yeah.
Wouldn't mind.
But yeah, so I mean, you said it's the small, like very small town in Ohio, and you have this sort of middle-aged, probably 45-year-old woman who works at a doll factory, and it's very clear that she's pretty much struggling to get by. She has a very small house, modest house, takes care of her elderly father, and she's clearly, has a thing for this sort of young, quiet, sort of younger guy. He's probably 22, something like that. He says something like that.
I think
Kyle.
he was maybe literally 20, the actor, when they shot it.
Okay,
And
there you go.
Thing is a good ambiguous word for what she has. Yeah.
Yes,
right.
a thing. Yeah. Yes, and so it's he seems to be very quiet and doesn't really want to talk to her, and she gets rides for him to work, and slowly we're kind of learning about just they're kind of day to day and they're very odd kind of her quirkiness, I guess, for Martha, and Kyle just being like, this guy, you know, this is the weird person at work that I just don't want to really talk to, but I need a ride, so I have to be nice to her. And, you know, then they need another person at the factory. And so they bring in Rose, who's sort of like, you know, more Kyle's age. And now they have immediately have a thing together. And you already see Martha's face just like, man, I'm going to lose Kyle. I'm going to lose Kyle.
Immediately suspicious of this woman.
Yeah. Like they're going on little smoke breaks, and she's just, you know, not happy about it. And so I guess you're just now, I mean, I don't know how far deep into do you want me to go, but basically,
no, go ahead. You're doing great. Yeah, I would say just do it.
Folks, if you have any interest in this, watch the movie.
Oh yeah,
highly recommend Bubble.
Yes, it's not as spoilable as some of the films we talked about in our previous episode, but it is. I think you can enjoy it more fully, maybe not knowing where the film goes.
Yes, and I mean, and then it's sort of like immediately, as you can obviously hear, it's creating this love triangle between Kyle and Rose and Martha, who's now sort of, you know, interested in her, and you could see them slightly starting to get, you know, despising Rose, and they end up going on a date together, Kyle and Rose, and Martha ends up being the babysitter for Rose's young 2-year-old, which is also very weird. And the other thing that is very noticeable, and we can talk about this more like with the movie, is just how much like $20 or $30 or even $50, like they talk about a $50 bonus that they're getting from work, and it's just like, this is life-changing money for them. And so that we have this date that they go on, and you're starting to maybe see Martha as being, you know, like, oh, like she kind of just means well, you know, she's trying to scrape by. And we learn the next morning after this date that Rose and Kyle go on, which she seems to just be using it to steal from him. It kind of just seems like she's using him, perhaps. And then the next morning we discover that Rose is dead.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything there?
No, Rose has been murdered, and there's a police investigation where Rose's kind of short-fused ex. I don't think they were ever married, but her ex, who's the father of the kid, it seems obvious that he would be a suspect, but then it turns out that the fingerprints on Rose's neck belong to Martha, and she seems to have killed Rose in a fugue state, forgotten all about it, and then this kind of ends up realizing this while she's in jail at the end of the film, and or does she? You know, there's a sort of as naturalistic and sort of neo-realist as much of the film is, there's also this very lost highway element of what is going on. How much does this person know about her own behavior, her own interiority? Apparently there was like a sort of brain tumor plot line that was cut out because test audiences didn't like it.
Isn't there another scene earlier, I believe, when you kind of look in, like Martha sort of has these weird kind of like glaze over
the two halo scenes.
So you definitely get the sense that something's wrong, but then you're like, oh, like she couldn't have done it, you know, but then you also have her using what would obviously have been money that she had stolen or objects to then go buy a bunch of tackle and a fishing rod for Kyle. And
so many elements I love, but I'm glad you said that, Evan, because the blurbs for this movie say like a murder mystery or some variation of that. And
in a small town,
there's about, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's something like 5 to 7 minutes when the audience doesn't know who killed Rose, because that's the amount of time that I think elapses between like when we discover that she's been murdered to when we see Martha going to the pawn shop to pawn like very explicitly a watch or like some jewelry that we know that Rose had. So like you're saying, and I think it's like so many choices in this film, just like an incredible rejection of, like I was saying, the true crime of like who did this, the thrill of like unraveling the motivation. We know who did this, and now the rest of the film just becomes like, well, what is this going to mean to these people? And like, why did she do this? Does she have a sense of it? And you're right, Jake. They cut this tumor thing after test screenings, which we know
they
Soderbergh
excised it.
Is sensitive. We excised the tumor. Yeah. I mean, he did this for the Limey. I think he did this even back to Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Considering like test screenings like a part of the writing process, kind of.
Which is
like,
so fascinating to test screen this movie, which seems so much like an expression of an artist who has a particular thing that ain't in mind, but clearly he's always thinking about the audience, which is fascinating. He also talked about using the stillness of digital video intentionally. One of the things I appreciate about Soderbergh is like he's an early adopter of digital, obviously, with full frontal, but he is someone who thinks about digital as a medium with its own characteristics rather than just like a cheap way to replace
or like a sterile
celluloid.
way. Yeah.
All the shots look still full of character, even though you could be the opposite, and especially like a low budget, $1.5 million film, less maybe. So
yeah. I was thinking, I mean, you mentioned neorealism, Jake, but like you're saying, it's like a weird, extremely well-tuned balance for me, because the film is like less intentionally cinematic, even than like a neorealism. Or I was thinking about the Herzog film, what's it called? STROSZEK, I think. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Like a German guy gets out of prison, a lot of non-professional actors, goes to like rural Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin. And he just like talks to weird people there. But there's so much intentionality in that film, or even in like a Bicycle Thieves, of like traditional cinematic language, close-ups on stuff, comic timing and editing. Whereas I think this movie, for the most part, except for the Martha Halo scenes and a couple other things, it's just doing like still shots of the three of them having conversations. Sometimes it will do like wide shots of somebody driving up to a house. But otherwise, there's very little like voice in the editing, or like voice in. I mean, like you said, Jake, there's almost no camera movement. I think he says no handhelds, no dollies. But
especially compared to like the Ocean's movies, which are all style and flash, and like how many different things can I do with the camera? Like having fun with camera movement. This one it's all locked off.
It's like a film student who like knew exactly what he wanted to do, and like I'm just going to do this one thing, but he did it really well.
Yes.
I mean, he's no film
explicitly,
student.
In one interview, he talks about how the camera cost $4,000. Mm-hmm. And so he said the reason it cost $1.6 million instead of like $10,000 is because he paid everybody.
Yeah.
Like, which is a kind of bubble style candid discussion of like the cost of being alive. There's a scene where in the background on TV, a news report is talking about how many, like what portion of adults in West Virginia have health insurance. And so, there's like the camera is still, which allows us to like take in all these details like that, where there's less distraction from like the fact of these locations, the fact of these people's lives, Debbie's face, or Martha's face, or Debbie's face, I guess, but like is such a fascinating canvas.
And it's like tremendous trust in these non-actors to be able to fulfill their roles, and to just be like these stories to be inherently interesting. Like we don't have to make them into something interesting or like draw your eye or something. Like they speak for themselves more or less.
It almost, I was just thinking, it almost in a way feels like a documentary of this like rural town in Ohio, like through the lives of these people. And it's actually them, like they are living, working at a KFC.
Can I ask, I don't know the answer to this question for myself, but do you guys think it would be maybe more interesting if the film was about trying to fill the doll quota or whatever, instead of about someone dying? I mean, I think the murder does speak to something about the life of this Martha woman, and like I think Rose's first crime is when she talks about wanting to get out of this town because there's nothing here.
It's such an affront to Martha in that moment. But I think I'm going to be honest. Like I think I've had that exact conversation working in a hotel and stuff, where like somebody who's been at the hotel 15 years is sitting at the same table as somebody who's been a bellman for a year and is saying like, if I do this job another year, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there quietly, just like feeling like, well, like this person, like this has been
that bellman a little bit.
Yeah.
Talking about, I fucking hate tech companies, like at my tech job.
Yeah.
Like there's people around me who are like,
That's not to say that I think Martha loves it in the movie, but it is such like an insult to say, like, I can't imagine like, living out here.
She's so tied here too because of her dad. But like, so it's not like the murder has no bearing on this examination of these people in this place. But like, do you guys wish that there was sort of less genre, I guess?
You know what you could do instead is you could still have them live out their life for what's happening at the doll factory and have like almost like a murder in the town, like on the periphery, where they could have experienced that murder or that crime in a town that probably doesn't have much murder.
Right.
And like witnessed it, you know, seen how they, you know, someone dies at the factory, but it's not one of the main characters. So, like, I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you guys are coming from, but I guess it did to me the sort of like, obviously in our last season, we talked a lot about Bresson, who obviously does the human model, non-professional actors, but in some ways, not to be blasphemous here, I almost appreciated it more because so many of the directors who use non-professional actors, it's sort of like, I'm taking these like blank clowns or whatever, and like I'm going to use them to tell a story that I have in my head. But in this case, I'm not sure if we've said it explicitly, but like a huge portion of the dialogue was improvised. Or Coleman Hoff talks about she would go on smoke breaks, and to her that was like a writing or like a rehearsal session. She would just listen to them tell stories, and then would come back to Steven and say, I got like tomorrow's idea or something.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I'm going to defend the genre elements, even though normally I'd be with you guys and say like, is it just more interesting to tell their stories, is that it does kind of like reveal the passions underneath the like humdrum existence of these people. And I just wonder if there's sort of like an ease in with which you can disregard that if the whole movie is just like them showing up to the doll factory. Not to say that like life has to be about murders, but I think it reveals that like Martha was always a woman of passions, or like she cared about things. They were just expressed in extremely difficult to register ways. Like how important was Kyle to her? He was extremely important, even though the way she expressed that is like taking a picture of him at a donut shop. That was her way of saying like, this is the best part of my life.
Yeah. Soderbergh talks in there's an interview on the Blu-ray from a truly remarkable document, an HD net original programming, a bit of original programming. There was a film magazine on HD net called Higher Definition, and they made the host, who is a like a newspaper film columnist or film critic, he like has to like walk at the camera in like choppy shutter like exhibit at the beginning of Pimp My Ride. It's really weird. But he's talking to Soderbergh, who's wearing a Heinz ketchup t-shirt for some reason. And Soderbergh talks about how much he liked that these people don't react in big ways, like when they find out that Rose has been killed, Kyle and his mom and Martha, they don't have a big reaction the way that an actor, like a professional actor, would sort of instinctively think to do. They're like, what? Oh man. And like that's the full reaction.
Yeah. When Martha's dad is told that she's been arrested for murder, he says, "Is that right? Is that right?
Is that right?"
And then he says, "I'm sorry to hear it," which is like, this is like a man whose like his only daughter takes care of him. Like his life depends on it. And I don't know. I don't think I've been hyperbolic enough. I was like stunned by this, and I had actually watched it a couple months ago and then rewatched it this week.
This is close to a 1517, and like has a lot of parallels with 1517 in Paris. It's a really fascinating document, and like the way, you know, Soderbergh mentions that Debbie told him her favorite movie was Erin Brockovich, and it's funny to think about how like we talked about how much we appreciated Erin Brockovich, like discussing the cost of childcare and like the reality of these realities of like being a real person. Evan, I don't know if are you an Erin Brockovich guy?
It's funny you say that. I'm actually recording an episode on Erin Brockovich in a few weeks.
Oh,
with someone who's going to be who's a historian who's actually going to law school, and so she has like this weird, interesting. Anyway,
okay, so then don't tell us. Everybody, go listen to this episode.
Speaking of law school, you will be hearing from our lawyer. But that sounds great. But like, you know, it's I don't know, Soderbergh, as much as he especially in interviews kind of talks like he is apart from history and apart from politics. Like his movies do just have a lot more frankness about like the fact of money.
Yeah, I mean, Evan brought this up, but I think another great scene is them saying if they make quota, they're going to all get $50. And like, what are you going to do? I mean, this is like absolutely office lunch talk for people for whom $50 is a huge deal. And I don't know if it's the same conversation, but Martha...
Yeah, Misty's story about there's
that
her
too.
old job. Yeah.
No,
Misty
you're right. Yeah, go ahead.
She was a CNA, which is like my girlfriend works in healthcare and has worked with CNAs in past jobs. This is a certified nurse's assistant, I think is what that stands for. This is literally like a shit job. These are people who they like wipe asses, they clean up blood, and they do all of like the stuff that nurses refuse to do. The turnover is insane.
Yep.
And it's like a job that people take almost exclusively out of desperation, and they have a terrible time.
And in case people are curious, I think it's also like one of the fastest growing industries in the United States. Either like some version of this, like home care, or like resident care, like residential facility care.
Healthcare is the only growing industry in the U.S. I saw somebody tweeted the other day, like we live the entire country is a nursing home.
Yeah. And she talks about it in like the least romantic terms possible, which I think is great.
And specifically mentions finishing work for the day, being in the parking lot, and one of her supervisors coming out and saying, "Hey, can you like just finish up this one last thing? It'll just take a minute." And her saying, "Sure," because she wants to keep her job. And then it's always like an hour off the clock, and she can't say anything because she doesn't want to lose her job. And just this little mention of like especially from somebody who is a dues paying non-member of the WGA, somebody who sort of like voluntarily left the WGA to just have this little discussion of a small sneaky labor abuse in a movie like this is it's great. It's cool.
Yeah, basically just telling everyone that wage theft is probably more common in these small towns too, where they can get away with it.
And it's is worse than murder.
Right. That's exactly. I mean, this is a type of theft that I have experienced personally, and
sure,
it's absolutely insane because it's all the type of thing where like people who think very highly of themselves, either because they've been to college or because of like grind set stuff or just being like an adult libertarian, will say just like leave the job, which I think is, of course, always reveals the fantasy in which libertarian people live, or like, like free market people live, which is this idea that, first of all, you can afford to not have a job for even like 3 weeks or something. Where, there are people for whom that would mean homelessness. And also, if I had left the hotel where I clocked it out and then kept working sometimes several hours, and I had tried to go to a different hotel, guess what also would have happened when I went to that hotel? It's not great, let me leave this nasty place and like the market will decide that nobody wants to work here. I mean, not unless you have like a secret stash of jobs that treat workers really, really well. What are you talking about?
And like where they are excited to hire somebody on, where the process of applying for the job doesn't take 6 weeks all by itself, even if it's going well, where you can start as a fully contracted employee and like you don't get your benefits for fucking 9 months.
Yeah. And they want the person who's going to be like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes because they know.
Of course,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They want the guy who thinks that this is him being grind set. This is him being an alpha gorilla.
Yeah.
It's actually like the most alpha thing you can do to let someone wring you out like a wet sock.
Well, there's like, aside from just like the doll factory where they're all working, I think also one of the craziest things is that Kyle also works at a shovel factory, which is also
insane.
The craziest job I've ever.
Shovel factory but it seems like the shovel factory is a factory where you shovel. We don't see them. I mean, maybe they just didn't have a shovel factory location, but like
they showed about. There was like a montage where they showed a bunch of shovels hanging and
but
stuff.
He's just shoveling into the fire.
Right, and
his job happens to be shoveling. Yeah.
It's so, I mean, I don't want to be, this is a very overused term, but I do think that there is literally a Lynchian element to this like the sort of eerily still heavy machinery and like a guy in this factory alone at night who seems to be just shoveling some like sawdust, I think, around. There's a very surreal quality to it. Obviously the dolls are quite surreal, and there's I think a pretty easy metaphor to draw from, you know, a Hollywood filmmaker in a doll factory. But they're also themselves just like so fucking horrifying, and they put the doll faces into these awful little frames that like
they're like
cover
death
up
masks.
but they're death masks that cover up all but the part of the, you know, this one covers up everything but the lips, and so you can
airbrush them.
You press the doll's face
from
into
those like silicone molds.
And they go like when they come out of the machine.
We haven't talked about how, I mean, I texted Jake about this, Evan, that it's incredible to me that this is like one of the last doll factories in the US, and not to defend whatever that's called, like
apparently
Taylor.
There were three of them left in the U.S. and two of them were in this town.
Yes, exactly. But not to go like Taylor method, like defending factory optimization. But this is like one of the least efficient factories that I can conceive of in my mind. It looks like somebody's garage that they've like turned into a doll factory where people are like going back for stuff and carrying it around, and like the humans are as mechanized as the machines,
and they have so much area where like the break room is and like lockers. Like it seems like at one point they probably had like hundreds of people, I'm guessing, and now they're just like down to the last 4 people who can make dolls in America.
They're the foreman or the manager or whatever is such
he's great,
an incredible find, and the way that when after Rose dies, they bring on a new employee who he refers to only as Kyle's mom. He never uses her name.
He also,
that's who we know her as. But
some of like, this is what I'm saying, guys. Of like, I don't know. I know it's like kind of a corny film student thing to get excited about non-professional actors being able to, but this is the same stuff I got excited about in 1570 to Paris, where he was saying like, there's been like there's something that's happened that we like don't, I mean, it's so much, there's like a great loss. He like has no idea. I mean, this guy has been to like one managerial training in his life, and one of his employees has murdered another employee, and he just has like no way of talking about this.
Right. And like, I'm excited. I'm watching this film. Watching this scene. I'm like happy for Kyle's mom because I know she's been out of work, and I'm like, oh, good thing that lady got murdered. So that now a little more money is going to be coming into Kyle's house, so you can buy more High Times posters. You know,
I mean, his tiny little pistols on the wall. I like that.
Yeah, the darkest wood, like fake wood paneling in their mobile home. Yeah.
You mentioned the machines, Jake. We haven't said like one of the other sort of musical bridge elements or like repeated motif techniques that Soderbergh does, because have we said that he also shot the film?
He's doing all of it.
He's doing the Peter Andrews and the Mary Ann Bernard stuff.
Yeah.
But every time there's a new location,
he brought the hard drives to each theater himself. You know,
he's in a car. Yeah,
he drew the poster with a pencil.
That's like the Lynch thing where he sent the videos from which film was it?
Also
Firewalk with Me.
Lynch style. Around this time, Soderbergh is vocally advocating that theater chains turn the movie volume up, much like Lynch with Mulholland Drive in his famous notes, but
sending how to adjust the lighting. And
stuff.
It wasn't Firewalk with Me. Sorry, you're right. Mulholland Drive.
He was saying that because trailers were mixed too loud, theaters were apparently turning the volume down during the trailers and then just like neglecting to turn it back up for the movie.
That's probably right. Yes, but sorry, the motif thing that I was talking about is like every time they go to no location, they just do a bunch of still shots, like a montage of still shots of different parts of the location. So I think the first one is the factory, or actually the very first one is, I take that back, is Martha's house. And they'll have like continuous sound from something off screen happening. So sort of like a bed of native sound for that place, but not necessarily like to go with that shot, just like the location at large. But they do it at the factory. They do it at Rose's house and like Jesse's toys and stuff. They do it at Kyle's house. I thought this was terrific. And talking about like present style, there's this real like ghost observer of what this world is. There's like very little commentary. It's just to give you a sense of like, what is this place? Right. And then the rest of the scene is shot like a single frame with people moving in and out of it as they please, whatever.
The music by Robert Pollard, the Guided by Voices guy, he sort of is Guided by Voices in a Trent Reznor Nine Inch Nails way. He's from Dayton, Ohio, but the music is like almost unrelated to the mood of the film in a way that is like.
Yeah, at the beginning I was like, I don't know if I'm into this, to be honest, and then it kind of defeated me through the course of the film. Evan, what did you think?
It was like. It's weird. It somehow is like the like in a way the music should have been in my mind when it started was like more haunting, like in a way, like it's very eerie. But in some way, this makes it, I don't know, like more uplifting in a thing that's movie that's so depressing. Like if it had been really eerie, I think would have just been downer the whole time.
I totally agree, because like the very first scene when I think the opening shot is like Martha's sleeping face at like pre-dawn in her house before she has to wake up and make breakfast for her dad. And it's this kind of like jaunty guitar when you're like, I mean, Evan, you described her life perfectly. I was also feeling like, you know, a little almost frustrated at like, I mean, I want to kind of like live in the mood of this world. And I'm listening to this guitar that is sort of like falsely denying how bad this is. But then as the film went on, I did start to feel like, well, maybe this is like Martha psychology kind of like, she goes through life saying actually everything's fine. And she wants to go to Aruba, which is like the most, I think she says, I learned about it on TV.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys remember this? I looked into this at the time. Do you remember the Natalie Holloway thing?
I don't know.
Because I learned what Aruba was. I learned what Aruba was from this Nancy Grace,
I learned about
missing white woman,
the Beach Boys
international story. So Natalie Holloway was an American tourist in Aruba who went missing in 2005, and it was like an international incident, basically. And her parents.
You're saying that Martha was watching this and saying, like, looks pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what's fascinating is like I think people in 2005, because she disappeared in May 30th, 2005. So like when they shot this, it would have been like all over the news.
Yeah.
And I think people in the movie would have heard Aruba and been like, oh yeah, where the woman is missing. She wasn't declared dead until 2012.
Wow. Okay.
And there was like a Dutch national who was the prime suspect, and it was like there was a whole like did the U.S. authorities interfere with the investigation by Aruban authorities? Were the Aruban guys not doing anything right? And then there was a whole thing of like she may have been involved with drugs, and so like, and are her like conservative Alabama parents trying to cover that up, and so it was like, I mean, this is Aruba. Like Aruba is this beautiful tropical paradise or whatever where this murder happens, and so it's funny to imagine Debbie seeing establishing shots of a nice beach, and thinking that's nice.
That almost like plays and fits into the idea that the film is sort of this critique on, or anti-critique or anti-version of true crime. Like that it's like another true crime thing that's happening, and to bring that in is almost kind of perfect.
Yeah.
But like this is the kind of thing where like Condoleezza Rice had to make statements about this investigation. Like that like
level.
An
Amanda Knox or this becomes like an international incident. Yeah.
And there've been several like Lifetime TV movies about this. But yeah, no, I think it's like the weird, and another sort of Lynchian element is like the violence underneath, in this case not quite an idyllic small town, but like the disconnect between the chipper way people try to go about their their lives and like, yeah.
And again, in some ways, like to defend the genre elements, like you're saying here, the fact that we get this murder and then almost immediately the resolution of any like questions about who did it, I think makes the rest of the film in maybe Sex Lives and Videotape fashion a little bit about playing with our emotional relationships with these people, where initially, I mean, I don't know, I'm curious to hear what you guys think, but I was fond of Martha. I mean, she's kind of like winning and in living this difficult life, we're inherently sympathetic to her. And when Rose is kind of shitty to her at various points, we dislike Rose. There's a wonderful bit of, I don't know if it was improvised dialogue, where Martha's asking about who the guy was, Rose's ex-boyfriend, who shows up and kind of yells at her for stealing. And Rose says something like, have you ever considered it might be none of your business, Martha? Read your book. And she's like very clearly reading a magazine, which I think is funny. It's just like, and yeah, I mean, I think we dislike Rose. Is that safe to say? Or like maybe like we understand why she's like that, but she's not.
I mean,
you feel bad for her, I think.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
She seems to be dealing with like a difficult situation. She's got a daughter with a guy who is too focused on his art, right, and then we go see his house, and he seems to be spray painting his own walls.
The cop. Oh, we haven't talked about the cop. He's so wonderful.
Be a passionate individual. I do. This is something that I appreciate, and I think can only come from the improvisation by non-professional actors. But the amount that real cops use the word individual is insane. I think it's because they want to say the N-word.
Okay.
And so someone told them, like, they're afraid of saying person because they know they're going to say like black person, I guess, and they think they're going to be in trouble. So they say individual constantly, and it's one of those like cops trying to sound smart words. But this detective says individual so much. I mean, and he's like, I can tell you're a passionate individual because like the guy spray painted like a crazy scary face. His house looks like where the Candyman lives in Candyman.
I mean, it also looks like an underpass, basically.
Right. I mean, it looks like a place that kids break into to do drugs.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's
the first shot of the cop, the exterior. He's just like talking to the other cop who's been doing the whatever crime scene review and like canvassing. It is such incredible anti-cinema to me because it's like a little bit too far away where we like can't really see either of them that well. And it's a pretty long conversation. So we're just like sitting and watching, and there's like a bunch of background action that is like arguably distracting from where our focus should be. And he's asking like real cop procedural questions of like, was there forced entry? And then he says it again later. He's like, yeah, it looks like there was no forced entry. It's like such an authentic plodding production of what would really happen. I think it's terrific. I don't know.
Like he's a cop, like a new cop reading from like his little manuals. Like, I got to ask this question. I asked that question. I asked this question.
Yeah. Probably the most far-fetched part of the film is imagining a cop can read.
Yeah.
By the way, I found that I found in my notes here the host of Higher Definition is named Robert Wilonsky, and I have a shot here. It's interesting that the vertical integration of it all. This show that's on HDNet is like it's this full on like company propaganda for the movie that the company is also putting out. And so at one point he literally says, it is the first shot in the revolution that will obliterate release windows.
Wow. Okay.
So
not afraid to
he's
doing like here.
Yeah, like fucking like propaganda in the truest sense.
Yeah.
But did you guys know, did this happen? I'm curious if this happened to either of you guys because of the non-professional nature of Missy Wilkins. Did you feel like a little upset that she got murdered? I felt like I had more of a like, oh God, like
that's
real
what I was
reaction
kind of getting to.
This.
Is that, I agree with you guys that her life is like so inherently unfair that of course I'm sympathetic to her. But what I think the film does really well is that we have these characters that we kind of understand, all three of them. I think I was particularly sympathetic to Martha, and then Rose is killed, and it feels like All right. Well, I thought she was kind of shitty, but now like the much greater unfairness of their lives is like on display. And there's a sense of, well, now, okay, and Martha shouldn't have killed her, obviously, but also it demonstrates that to Martha, even if she was unstable, what she had with Kyle was so precious to her that like there was nothing that she wouldn't have done to protect what is really like a barely extant relationship. The relationship they have is like friendly coworkers for Kyle, I imagine.
Yeah, it's her like closest coworker.
Yeah.
She took the picture in the coffee shop or the donut shop, and they're just it's weird.
Yeah, there's that moment when they're walking into the donut shop together, and she calls him like her best friend or something, and he just like doesn't engage with that.
Right.
That's so true, so
and
real.
And he's also like, I don't know if he's like this in real life. I think it's an impressive job. He's like a risless motherfucker, this guy. I mean, he's on a date where Rose is like putting on like almost telenovela style flirting. We understand later because she wants to take advantage of him, but she's asking questions like, oh, like, well, what if we got out of here and, you know, is your mom home? Can we go back to your apartment? And
he fucks up by telling her that he has like sock drawer money saved away. And she's like, oh, all I have to do is find this guy's sock drawer.
Yeah. But I mean, even with that in mind, his response to her saying like, should we go back to your place? He's like, we could, or we couldn't. Like, you know, he just has like no sense of like how this conversation should proceed. And he just talks about having social anxiety so bad that he dropped out of high school. I mean, I think it's like darling, but it's very...
Yeah, when he says he has anxiety, she says, what is that?
Yeah.
She also talks about just like the smallness of their world. She talks about her big like rebellious act was hitchhiking to Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, how much age difference was between them, do you think?
I don't think between Rose and Kyle.
I mean, are they both supposedly from this town? Like, wouldn't they have known each other?
It's a great question. Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Or maybe she could have been from West Virginia, like across the river.
She could have been.
Right. Yep.
I mean, she also... So Misty Wilkins... Madison Wilkins plays Jessie, her real daughter. She was a mother of 4 when this movie was made. I mean, so there's also
Debbie was
just like
a grandmother of 2, I think, when this film was made. Yeah.
I do want to say from the video, Debbie talks about and gives evidence for her second husband being the kindest man she knows. And kind of a doofus, but like I think she has a nice life, and she seems to genuinely love being the manager of a KFC.
Yep.
Because she gets to talk to people all day. So I'm very glad to hear about that. But Misty or Rose, you can tell this has like lived more life. Even if she's the same age, it's like the way that a 20-year-old like teen mom is just so much older than a 20-year-old who went straight from high school to college and has never had a real experience.
Like my life that this was her real daughter based on how they were interacting on screen. This is, I mean, to me... You can't fake. I've known some very young moms, and this sense of like both care and also like malaise or frustration,
exhaustion,
and like unfairness. And it doesn't manifest as like hate, but it does manifest as sort of like, I don't know, maybe like a la The Cop, like a procedural approach to being a mom where she's like, she'll have her juice, she'll go to bed at 8, like it'll probably be fine.
Hey, Evan, you have children.
I do.
Yes?
Yes.
Are you supposed to give them goldfish and juice right before bed? That seems like...
That's, I mean, probably not the juice part, you know, like maybe some applesauce. I don't know, you know, something. Yeah. But I mean, just the way that she describes the child too, like, you know, what they like and everything. It seemed like I'm describing my own child.
Yes.
Like I don't think you can fake that, and it's genuinely that almost makes like the her murder like even more sad. Like, oh, the kid gets swept away, taken with the grandparents because the father, who, you know, what can he do? So that's like kind of the sad part.
I mean, Evan, as a parent, do you think... I was kind of upset thinking about this, but then I guess I was wondering, like, maybe Soderbergh thinks it's fine. Do you think that the child was acting about her mom leaving for a little while, or that was just a real child threat? Because when Rose is going to go out on her date, she says, like, you're going to stay with Martha, I'll be back. And I really... I don't think
Could a child that young like understand that a camera is there and this is pretending?
I don't think so
not.
either. That's
I
think that was a genuine. I mean, they might have had to. I don't know how many times they had to do that take, but my guess is the child was like actually genuinely like, "Where are you going?"
I think so too. Yeah, which was tough to watch, but also maybe it's sort of like, well, I don't know. That's not something that harms a child exactly, but
I mean, the kid is gonna get upset when her mom goes to the grocery store anyway.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Who's watching this kid when she goes to work? Is it just?
I was thinking about that also. Well, they say
her
that
dad says sometimes he takes care of her, but
okay.
Yeah, he takes her to get chicken nuggets, and then she ends up going to the grandparents after.
I mean, she has a second job too, where she's like cleaning, like
we haven't talked about the cleaning.
The second job in the bath, the bubble bath.
That suburban house with the same like flower on linen paintings that I had in my home as a child. It freaks me out a little bit.
And like this looks like like my friend Bob's house in Virginia or whatever.
Be represented as like a palace, basically.
Yeah, Martha's saying it was so beautiful. Yeah. And like relative to her house, it is extraordinary. And then I look at this and see this is evidence of an aesthetic lack. It's evidence of a spiritual problem,
like a magazine derived approach to interior decorating.
Bob's mom decorated the inside of their house much better than this, and not a spiritual lack at Bob's house, but this type of McMansion. Yeah, in general,
or like McMansion light. Even I'm not sure. It's like
right. Mick Small Manor. Yeah, it's so Rose keeps as Martha points out, like keeps asking for more and more favors. One of which is to give her a ride to her second job, and then evidently like invites her into the house that she's cleaning, where Rose is in the bathtub.
Was it obvious that she also steals like the watch from the place she's working? Was that
I think we're meant to understand that?
Yeah. It's she talks about how it was a gift from.
Oh right, I forgot. But but then
she tells a story about
Martha
it being a
steal
gift.
that watch then from her when she murders her?
She does. Yeah, I
and then
believe
she sells it, right? So God, it's like this very like the chain of like things that you see in this town of like it. You don't ever see any of like the wealthy people, I guess. You just kind of see the shell of their home. And I think it's kind of
you see their effect on these people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they have this, you said these houses are nice, but they're not like multi-million-dollar homes or presumably these kind of things.
These are not the houses of people
who own the doll factory.
Yes, exactly.
No, yeah.
Well, and then even when she's in the bathtub and she's like, she's doing sort of femme fatale shit. She then tells this story about how she hurt herself at a previous job and
the least femme fatale.
Yeah, she can't. She gets some relief.
Contractions. Yeah,
she gets some relief from being in a bathtub, but she can't afford an apartment that has a bathtub. She only has a shower. So like, there's a sort of a Barbara Stanwyck like bad girl thing that she's doing, and then it turns out to be this tragic like symptom of late capital that she's just trying to get some relief from her back pain.
The way Martha tells it, she's like, we went there, she got into the bath. I could not believe it. Like she just like
I could not believe it.
Yeah. She's saying like to her, and then when she tells the story to the cop, she's saying like, she's just one of these people who like keeps taking and taking. And I mean, as far as I can tell, what she did was ask for a ride to her other job. And then offer / ask if Martha wanted to babysit after Martha mentioned kind of being tight on money.
Offers to pay her. Yeah.
Right. And then what I think we all understand is that what Martha's really upset at is that she's being relegated to the sort of like matronly favor role while Rose gets to enjoy Kyle's romantic attention. But
right. She's being like very literally interpolated into like, you are old childcare woman and I am young sex woman. Yeah. Even if she's not, she's just going on the date with the eyelash boy to
in like displaced coworker fashion. It's like when your coworker says like, I hate Natalie like won't shut up about her car, and Natalie like mentioned that she bought a new car, and what this really is that two people who both suffer from low wage work are like mad at each other because neither of them really gets to benefit from a better world.
Yeah, there's so much in here. Like there's so much, and I feel like it's just like oozing out of these people. I don't want to fetishize like real people, but I do think that this is not the sort of thing that could be improvised out of a George Clooney at this point in his career. You know, he would start talking about how we all need to buy a satellite to track warlords in the Central African Republic or whatever the fuck he does. Like improvising a story about how you can't get good help in Lake Como.
In Filmmaker Magazine, I think the interviewer, I think his name is Matt Ross. I have it written down here somewhere. Sorry, Matthew Ross. Yeah, he asks Soderbergh and Hoff, he says he feels like they didn't fetishize these people and how did they achieve that? And I think Soderbergh says, we don't make fun of people. I guess the trick is that when you're making something this simple, by definition, everything that you show becomes really important. You got to make sure that all of the narrative elements that show up are paid off in a certain way. So, I mean, the respect of it is not only just like in presenting these people in an unvarnished way and not using kind of like louder cuts, but also just saying like, well, whatever their concerns were, we decided like that was the direction of the narrative. Like that what we should talk about is what matters to these people, because that is enough to make a story, which I think is kind of inherently a respectful approach to telling their lives.
What's fascinating is that I feel like, and he mentions this a little bit, like one of the threads of this comes out of Traffic, of all things, where I think he was really like energized by that scene that he shot in Washington with like Orrin Hatch talking to Michael Douglas about drug policy. Right. And like what Orrin Hatch is saying is like politician like non-speech, but it is that guy being real about like the kind of thing he would say. And so then he goes on to make K Street, which I think we should cover. I think this coming off of this, I think
he
we should watch
says that this
K
is
Street.
like a consequence of K Street. Yeah.
Evan,
like
do you know about K Street?
No.
Soderbergh's like half improvised. Soderbergh made an improvised show about Beltway insiders starring James Carville in like 2003.
Holy shit.
For HBO, and it was shot like he did it sort of South Park style where it was all like a week behind the real news. And so bizarrely, what I think of as like the least real or in touch with the real world people one can imagine evidently inspire him to do this, which is like feels so vital and like true.
I mean, he has such an interesting like perspective, I think, on just like the true crime genre and just like how people in these towns actually perceive like world events. I mean, these people are like literally in a bubble of this, of this society that they can't break from. I mean, it's, like you said, the TV report about them not having healthcare and these things, like these are just things that they just assume is just what everyone is living under. And the only way they could see out of that is literally seeing this like, upper middle class-ish, middle class house. That's like, oh my God. Like,
this is a palace. Yeah. Yeah. Evan, you're on Left at the Projector. You examine film from a left perspective, I think more rigorously and responsibly than we do this show when we do that.
Yeah, but like, fully explain. Evan has kindly had us on for 2 episodes, but this is just an incredible long-running podcast that was inspirational to us.
And the second time that we've talked with Evan about people working in a factory where they make spooky latex. I'm going to be honest.
I was thinking about whether this is worth making a connection to Halloween 3 because
Evan and I have already discussed this.
In my notes, I wrote another doll movie.
Yeah, so, but also not just another doll, but another doll movie about kind of like real people. I mean, we talked about it on the Halloween 3. Yeah, like a sort of like shockingly honest film when you wouldn't expect to see it. Yeah.
So Evan, I just wanted to ask you, like, if there's a lot of factories in film. Some of the earliest films, in fact, involve workers leaving a factory.
Lumiere stuff.
Are there other factory films that this called to mind? Do you have any recommendations?
Yes.
Or thoughts on the factory in film?
I was just thinking of one, and I'm Norma Ray. Have you seen that?
Of course, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was one. I did that episode with news. Like I did a double feature of that and Newsies.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, that's probably one of the most accurate, seemingly, depictions of an inside of a factory too. And then maybe also, what's the Christine, the Carpenter film? Inside of the car factory too. Yeah.
Like those, Blue Collar, we've talked about on this show.
That was one. I was like, that's also in a. Wait, it's a car factory? No,
it's a car factory. Yeah, it's a cab. It's a cab.
I think in my head I was thinking of Blue Collar, but then somehow I also drew the comparison to Christine. But
I think Christine is there's a way that Christine is sort of gets in at an ecstatic truth about how evil just emerges from this factory, from the fact of the thing these guys are making.
Those all are very much like good depictions of it. And I don't know that this one was like the most. I mean, I realized it was an actual doll factory, but it didn't have like the same factory-ness.
Sure,
vibe.
it's not. It's too handmade. It's almost like an artisan assembly line. Like you don't have as much of the inhuman, like constantly churning mechanisms.
Yeah, you just have the thing where the dolls come out. You don't really get a deep sense of what's going on.
Yeah, and you have to like inflate the doll to put the eyeball in and then deflate it so that it like contracts around the eyeball.
They also weren't wearing masks while they were spray painting, which
I had the same thought, which is also like extremely Blue Collar of like, oh God, I know this is probably the workers would think of this as a pain, but this is also like these people should be able to sue for doing airbrushing all day long with like, they have like a weird tube vent that is like their version of a safety feature, I imagine.
Yeah. Ian and I were talking earlier about Harlan County, USA, which takes place, which is a documentary shot in a fairly
Kentucky,
close
not
by
that far
part of
from this. Yeah.
Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, coal country.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you know, I don't have to sell people in this movie. It's like an insanely vital piece of filmmaking.
I mean, sometimes, look, I have some of the listeners of the show that I know personally are people who I think enjoy the show because we're shouting out things that maybe we take for granted.
Yeah,
I was thinking about
check
this
out
like
Barbara Kopple's documentary Harlan County, USA about a coal miner strike in Harlan County, West Virginia in the 70s.
Cuts back and forth to like goes to New York to see these people trying to confront the like owners of the company. I mean, it's just like incredibly vital and like aware of what it's witnessing, and also
one of those
so
things
respectful to the people.
And how do these people how do they end up having cameras? Like, I mean, it's not spoilers for the historical record, but like guns are fired while this documentary crew is here, and it also, you know, it's real actors. It's non-professional people playing themselves because it's a documentary, but they are also, you know, everyone is performing for the camera to some extent. And to see the way that these people talk about their lives, like it is, I think the Evan, have you seen Harlan County, USA?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. The way that the difference between the way people think of their lives in that film or in the 70s and in 2005, pretty upsetting to think about how much, you know,
conscious ire there is or something.
When they mention that if they hit the quota, everybody gets $50, and I think it's Rose even who's been talking about like wage theft says, "Oh, that's so nice of them."
Yeah, and Martha talks about. One of the things she highlights about like something she enjoys is she's the way she describes it in the beauty parlor after the murder is she gets to sew dolls' clothes at night, which is actually really nice because she can make some
fun
extra money. Yeah, she says that it's fun.
And she can spend time with her dad.
Which, to be clear, I'm not saying you can't enjoy sewing and spending time with your dad, but the idea, I mean, this is literally like
people should derive some kind of enjoyment and fulfillment from their work, but like on their own terms.
But like, I mean, this is literally the origins of capital in England are sometimes attributed to like the system of assigning out sewing work and like textile work. Yeah, piecework, exactly, to homes. And I just couldn't believe that, like you're saying, in 2005, her attitude is like, well, it's nice that I can make like Uber money basically and also hang out with my dad.
compared to in Harlan County, USA, where there's a scene where the women, the wives of the miners, at one point say, "Hey, tomorrow when we go to the picket line, we should bring guns."
Yeah.
This is like completely maybe unrelated, but one of the notes I put, this is right after the I think it's the church scene maybe, and I wrote in my note that Martha like looked kind of like a doll in that weird shot, and I don't know like what to necessarily make of that, or if Soderbergh was trying to do something, or if like they've become this, I don't know, this
well, he says something in I think this is an interview around the time of the Girlfriend Experience, which the announced 6 films don't actually happen with HDNet, but the Girlfriend Experience, his film with Sacha Grey, and Everything Is Going Fine, the Spalding Gray documentary, those 2 are made for HDNet, and I think they do come out with some form of day and date. But anyway, he says he's also talking about Moneyball. He almost makes Moneyball, and I think it was gonna have a little bit of this feel where I think there were going to be some real baseball players and execs playing themselves. He says that's going to be the most extreme attempt at what he's been playing around with for almost a decade now. I guess it's something that grows out of my frustration with the norms of cinema narrative storytelling and the fact that I'm convinced that the gains that can be achieved through presenting something that seems like it is really happening in front of you are more significant than the gains you get from something that doesn't seem as real but is better constructed. That may just be a reflection of my personal taste, but I'm pushing harder and harder to try and get some of these projects into this area where they're almost like designed documentaries. Bubble, Girlfriend Experience, and K Street. On all of these, we literally worked from outlines that just described who's in the scene and gave a very, very loose description of what the scene is about. They're all controlled improvisations. So I think he has some like level of discomfort with the idea of playing with people like dolls, it seems like it speaks to he's famously collaborative, and like he's a camera operator who's literally in the scene with the actors. So I think he's trying to find ways to like use people less like dolls.
But I think in Evan's defense, I think to me, we haven't talked about what I think is one of the most incredible shots in the film. After Martha goes to prison, Kyle goes to visit her, and they shoot, I mean, we could say it's Schrader style, like a visitation through these absolutely bizarre and dehumanizing, they look like subway portholes or something, or subway, a submarine.
We could say it's Brisson.
Yeah, not like the normal like phone kind of thing you usually see.
Right.
No,
right.
yeah.
Or like a table or something. It's like this weird hole. And I think to me, it is representative of their circumstances. If I can just go, classic close reading style of like, they're too close to each other. They're placed in these environments.
Bitch. Holding the book too close to us.
I do. That's the real type of glasses that I have. Yeah. The environments are like hostile to real contact, but they're also kind of like too intimate. I don't know if you guys saw how close their faces are to each other to be able to talk is like incredibly unnatural. So it's like restrictive and it's intimate. It's obscuring because you can only see half their face, but also like, of course, Martha's going to come out of this world being kind of infantilized, and like she kind of talks about talks like a child, which she says like, I don't know what happened. I really think it was Jesse's dad, and like I had a really bad headache that day, and I wouldn't do anything like that, which is to me, Evan, you have kids. To me, that is like a school excuse. When I've confronted kids about stuff, they would say like, I wouldn't do that. And you're sort of like, well, you did do that. But, their feeling is this sense of like, that's not the way I see myself. So how could I have done that? I'm not a person that you get mad at. So how could I have done a bad thing? And I don't know, I guess to me, that's the doll element, not a disrespectful, like I'm manipulating you or dehumanizing you, but like you are the product of an objectifying environment that has made you sort of like incomplete, maybe.
Or having like it's almost like an out of body experience, like the way they describe it, where I don't know, like someone is playing with her, like, like a doll. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's like I think, that's that they live style. That is sort of the what's the word I'm looking at? That is the sort of surreality of these moments where you kind of awaken to your own position within like a political or economic system, where you suddenly like you zoom out and kind of see yourself as a pawn, at least for me. And I wonder if there's an element of Lost Highway style like dissociation from seeing herself as being manipulated by her boss at the doll factory, or like her position within this context, as opposed to like I'm me, I'm Martha, everybody likes me, and I'm I love this kind of donut, and everything's great, and I saw the most beautiful house today.
Yeah.
And it's hard to acknowledge that you are being taken advantage of, or that you are restricted by circumstances, and that you might want to do something besides like take care of your dad when you're not at your job at the factory, and like that you are in an economically depressed part of the country, and that's like not at random or not nobody's fault, and like she's that pisses her off, and then like she kind of, rather than acknowledge that, or rather than like look at that in the face, she goes somewhere else, and loses time, which is a kind of time theft, which I think everyone should, everyone listening to this, everyone within the sound of my voice, steal time from your boss.
It's true. You will never be able to steal back what they've stolen from you.
They cannot prove that you didn't need to be in the bathroom that whole time.
That's right.
They're not allowed to ask you.
You mentioned this Debbie Doebereiner interview, Jake. There's another moment in there where like you can really see, not that they're the same person. There's very distinctly a character. I want to give her credit as an actor because she does a wonderful job, and she is different in real life. Yeah, she seems
like a much more of a real person, like a person who knows like what's going on.
Yeah, but she does talk about, she says in this, I don't know if she ever says that it's explicitly abusive, but this like very negative first marriage that she had with this man who looked down on her and made negative comments about her body and all these things. And she says sort of like before and during that, she was a very different person. She says like she was an angry person, and she almost doesn't recognize herself when she looks back at that. And to me, that was a special overlap of like, yeah, there are moments in our lives, particularly when we are the subjects of these like levers beyond ourselves. One of the most classic coping mechanisms is to become a type of person that we may not be proud of and look back on and say like, I don't know why I was making those decisions, and I don't even really recognize myself in them. And yet it's undeniable that that's who I was. I mean, she doesn't, again, like you're saying, in real life, she's very aware, and she says like, it's so crazy for me to think about that as like part of my own history, but it is who I was.
Yeah. And, managers, we don't always love managers.
Mm-hmm.
Managers can be bad. Managers can be our enemy sometimes. But sometimes, it's nice when a lady gets more money at the KFC. So,
yep.
I don't know. Maybe she's our enemy, maybe not.
I mean, if we're going Debbie? Global, there's some wonderful European approaches to sort of like market socialism where managers are in the bargaining unit also. Like it's, much more established that they are effectively just workers of a different type. They're not.
Right. It's unavoidable that there's some form of some level of hierarchy in terms of experience or responsibility or whatever. Yeah.
Some people just don't want to be managers, even if you could.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm cool. I'm in the back of the classroom for my whole life.
Right.
Do we have any kind of final thoughts or summary thoughts on Bubble? Also, I wanted to, as a thinking of the podcast as a jumping off point for people looking for other stuff like this, any favorite non-professional actor films for people to follow on to from this, if you liked this? I mean, obviously we've mentioned 1517 to Paris. I've shouted out the Valeska Griesbach film Western on this show before, a film about a German guy in Bulgaria on a construction project that's all non-professional actors and just some of the most incredible faces you've ever seen. Check out Western. Anything else come to mind for you guys?
I mean, this is like maybe the most cliche option. I'm sure most people have already seen this, but like Clerks is probably like, in my mind, is like the quintessential film of like people who were not actors and somehow made a movie that, I'm not saying, well, you can form your own opinion on whether you like it or not, but it's got
an undeniable something. And those like,
and Slacker in that same category. That's what Slacker.
For both those, both Kevin Smith and Richard Linklater, there's like a blurriness when you look at like regional low budget cinema where like, well, this is a non-professional actor, except they've been in this guy's 50 other films, but like this is probably not someone with like Meisner training and things like that. Someone who doesn't look like George Clooney in a positive way.
Yeah.
No, the only other movie I was going to say is, I don't know if everyone, I mean, do you consider it if like it's their first film, like everyone is in it, like Clerks, they all became professional actors.
Sure. There's a point at which Meryl Streep is not a professional actor.
Right.
Or like the other one, Nobody Knows. We've talked about that guy he went on to be in Unforgiven, but he started as just like a kid that Corrieta found.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that City of God is like all another one I would say. Like also like one of the maybe top tier film.
Yeah, I totally agree. Punishment Park, I think, is another one.
That was one I was trying to think of. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird one where it's almost like this is more manipulative, but I do think it's extremely effective. I think it's Peter Watkins, right, the director. He kind of like turns these people who like probably are not going to treat each other that well, like very intentionally, puts them in a position where they like will live this out, sort of like very light Stanford prison experiment style of like, well, let's see how you will act given these like set of rules or dynamics. And I'm not the biggest American Honey fan, but the British Andrea Arnold film Fish Tank, I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I haven't seen it, but
I like that film. I don't know what else we got.
I was thinking of, I mean, it's also a kind of cusp situation, but 400 Blows.
Yep.
Jean-Pierre Léaud, he's about to be a professional actor.
Right.
Same with basically every Dardenne movie. The Dardenne brothers get shouted out in a number of reviews of this film from the time. Ken Loach as well comes up.
Cass
Battle of Algiers, probably. I don't think most of those.
I think only one actual professional actor. Everybody else, right? Is that correct?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Jessica Alba,
which is honestly hard to believe. Like when you watch some of those movies.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Bicycle Thieves we've mentioned.
Thieves.
There's a kind of half documentary, half. It's a documentary about performance, but the act of killing is a very important film to watch one time.
Yeah, that's tough.
Speaking of a film to watch one time, come and see like The Boy in that. I think that was his first film, and you might only want to watch that one once.
Insane. Come and see is remarkable document.
I know that's Joshua Oppenheimer, but Errol Morris, I mentioned the film STROSZEK, the Herzog film. He had like invited Errol Morris to come make part of the movie where I forget what the exact story is. Listeners should look it up. It's something like they were going to open up Ed Gein's mom's grave or something. I don't know. Something like totally insane. Then Herzog like goes to the spot and Errol Morris just like doesn't show up, which I think is really funny.
Gus Van Sant's Elephant. And also, you mentioned Punishment Park. Gus Van Sant's film Paranoid Park is a pretty interesting.
I haven't seen that one.
It's not as good as Elephant, but it's like about like young skate kids at a skate park, and I believe also has a murder involved in it. But there's these are undeniably real people, and I do need to shout out the film Bad Trip with Eric Andre and Lil Rel. Which is a fascinating film. Where like they're basically, it's sort of a hybrid like Jackass and scripted comedy where they're basically doing scripted scenes with real people who don't know that they're in a movie.
That's correct. While also doing Jackassy pranks some of the time. Yeah.
Right. It's a really fascinating, and to see, especially it honestly is a kind of it's comforting in a way to see the way that how much real people like try to help when someone is having like, I mean, this part where
true.
Eric Andre puts what's obviously like a prop hand in a fucking blender at the like Robex where he works, and like people are trying to be very helpful to this guy whose hand is in a blender, or like Tiffany Haddish is in it being fucking crazy, and people are just trying to, people are trying to.
Does she need help?
They jump in to help before they're like, hey, fuck you, or calling the cops or whatever. So bad trip bubble, come and see triple feature. We want to hear from you if you do this and if you survive. But any final thoughts, any summary thoughts on Bubble?
I mean, I would just say that probably not a lot of people have heard of this in the works of Soderbergh. Like they're going to the movies that I probably mentioned at the beginning, but it's like really like a peek into like the soul of literally factory workers working, like literally the people who are doing these jobs, and it's like they shared a story of themselves more than like most movies would. I don't know.
Yeah,
part of their souls.
Yeah, to be frank about it, I love the elements of this that have shown up in other Soderbergh films. We'll talk about Unsane. We'll talk about Magic Mike, I think, has some like lineage with this.
Big time.
And then Girlfriend Experience, of course.
Channing Tatum has something of a bubble butt.
He does,
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I do. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm grieving the other 5 non-professional actor Soderbergh films that we didn't really get. To be honest, guys, I think this is like a great work of cinema. It's in the top Soderbergh films for me.
Me too. Yeah.
And I just wish that we had gotten more of it. Maybe this is like, eye-opening about the film industry and what's possible and what's not possible, as also an industry of a different kind. But there's so many moments in the film that we haven't talked about that I hope people will just enjoy. The cop trying to show his badge to Jesse's dad through the window, and Jesse's dad doesn't quite see it, so he shows it again when he opens the door. I mean, the whole movie was just an experience of like, God damn, like it is well observed because some of this is intentional, but it's also, I think there is like truly unaffected stuff in this movie that is really, really great. We haven't mentioned the fact, or we haven't really got it. It's short, and Soderbergh thought about making it longer. What do you guys feel about the length? I guess speaking of like silent film, I don't know. It makes me nostalgic for like make a
medium
movie
length film,
the right length. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
I almost feel like it had been longer would have been too much. Like I feel like it was. If they added, like you said, like the tomb, if they had these other little elements, okay, sure, maybe it would have added to it. But I don't know. Bring back the 80-minute movie.
Yeah,
occasionally.
Yeah. We talked about this somewhere. Oh, I think it was on our Patreon episode on the Japanese remake of Unforgiven. But like, because the director of that film had made a medium length, like a 50-minute film or something. And I think in cinemas that are not American cinema, I think more variety of film length is more normal, and I think it's cool. I think it's.
Bill and Coo, of course, our Patreon subscribers are familiar with the great non-professional bird film.
Bill and Coo, the film about birds.
Which I think is like 55 minutes or something.
40 minutes, 50 minutes long, yeah. I mean, Ian, you said you're mourning these films that didn't get made, but like the exciting thing about Steven Soderbergh is you might just find out that like he made a movie that only plays on Samsung smart fridges. And
we haven't talked about Walt
like, he made that's nothing. But like, you'll just find out that he made a movie starring George Clooney and like Osimo, the Honda robot. Like he'll surprise your ass, and he could do another one of these in he probably already has,
in 18 days if you give him the opportunity.
$1.6 million. I could do it for 1.5. Mark, if you're listening, Mr. Cuban,
Shark Tank style, you're going on to negotiate I can
Exactly.
for 15%. I'll make Bubble too.
Mr. Wonderful, isn't that a guy's name? On Shark Tank?
That doesn't sound quite right to me. I'm not a big Shark Tank head. Is that right?
Yeah.
Robert something.
There's Damon John.
Okay.
I know that because how could you not remember Damon John?
I don't know if Cuban really cared about movies when he was doing this, he would have funded a lot more people than just, not that Soderbergh didn't deserve to get some money, but
sure.
I don't know, give it to some other people, give a bunch of people $1 million, make a movie.
And how much money are you offering people to play a child's game, Mark, for the Dallas Mavericks?
Okay, all right. Here comes sports ball Jake. Yeah.
Yeah. My kid could paint a Jackson Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great film. Check out Bubble. You got to check it out.
I think people slept on this, man. People are still sleeping on it. You go read reviews and people will sort of talk about it as like, I was surprised that it was like pretty interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a remarkable document.
I don't know.
I wish you would
get out there, people.
Get out there. Everybody get out there.
Yeah.
We got one more thing we got to do before we close things up, which is, of course, the segment Popcornopolis. Kimmy?
This is Popcornopolis, the segment where we ask our guest, do you like popcorn?
Evan, do you like popcorn?
I love popcorn.
Oh,
Yeah.
How do you like
it? You have preferences?
Light butter, medium salt. Like, if you're going to the movie theater, a little butter,
I'm
but
with
a little
you.
salt to it. Yeah.
Are you
Great
a
order.
home popcorn guy, or are you just a theater popcorn guy?
Not as much at home. My family is big at home. I don't know, like the movie experience, like at the theater, it just has that, and just somehow it tastes better, even if it's the same. I mean, it's not the same.
It's I don't know how they do it. Speaking of the Landmark, the theater chain that that showed this film, the famous The Landmark, the one that was at the West Side Pavilion, rest in power. There were a few theaters. There were two levels. Most of the theaters were on one level, and then there were like 3 smaller ones upstairs.
Where you could go see The Great Beauty with 12 other people.
Yeah, where you could walk past Ridley Scott on your way to the bathroom one time, like I did.
Yeah.
And they had like a sort of not even like barely a concession stand up there. They had they had a guy who would sell you like some. They wouldn't make the fancy hot dog for you up there, but you could get dots.
Yeah.
But they would also, sometimes you would catch a Landmark employee trudging up there with essentially a duffel bag of popcorn. Like they had a plastic bag that was big enough for, like, bigger than a kitchen trash bag, like a very big plastic bag, and they would fill it with popcorn from the maker downstairs and take it upstairs to just put it in basically like a tank.
Where there was like a heat lamp, yeah.
And I think they time it between showings or something. You're not really supposed to see this happening, but I saw it happen a couple times, and it's just like, it's a quantity of popcorn at which it becomes like disgusting. Like it's not food
it's
anymore.
industrial, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the sawdust that's being shoveled.
Evan, you don't have to dox yourself, but where do you like to go to the theater? And are you taking your family? What's your family's theater taste?
What's your family's names and what's their social security
that's
number?
not right.
For me, I personally have like, the AMC A list, so I usually go like to myself as a theater goer. But like with them, usually I'll go to take them to, AMC. But I'm a big fan of. I also have a membership to IFC in New York.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so big fan of their kind of their vibe. And Film Forum, for the best popcorn of any movie theater you can ever go to, I think that Film Forum like promotes this as claiming the best popcorn. It's close. It's close.
Ian, they do popcorn down there in
Sure, they do popcorn.
Is there anything special about the popcorn? Have I asked you this
we've
before?
talked about the Taki popcorn. We got all sorts of crazy mix-ins and mix-em-ups and stuff.
Hey, you're not supposed to do that during the movie.
What about candy in the popcorn? Yay or nay?
I've never done it. That seems like a fake.
I know people who do it, but I'll be honest, I'm not into it. Sweet and salty is like, has to be like surgically deployed for me. You have to be an expert. You have to have graduated from cordon bleu to start getting sweet and salty. People think they know what they're doing, but they don't.
I love kettle corn. to me, I can't imagine it. Corn, yeah. I can't imagine it works. Like M&Ms are just gonna sink.
Or like Whoppers.
You gotta like you gotta have one in each hand.
Whopper. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've tried Sour Patch Kids. Like, I mean, it's more of like a dare than anything else, But
you know what I did once on a dare in middle school, and it ended up being really good. Is a chicken McNugget and some snack pack chocolate pudding. I dipped it.
Oh, okay.
And I basically just invented mole. Yeah, I invented mole. Yeah. It was pretty good, I think, because the chicken McNugget already has a bunch of sugar in it, probably. So like they're not as far from one another as you think. Thank you for indulging us on popcorn. We've mentioned that you are the host of Left at the Projector, but please tell people a little more about the show and where they can find more of the stuff that you're doing.
Yes, you can find it on leftattheprojector.com. So I think you said before, it's film discussion. Typically I'd say most of my guests are of the left-leaning persuasion in some sense. Perhaps some more than others, and we usually approach the film.
Bannon was really funny, so like it makes sense that you would have him on.
Yeah, but, that's an old episode. Don't go check that one.
Yeah, he did.
It's Titanic. Funny. I just recorded an episode on Gremlins, which will be coming out as a Halloween episode, and we were joking about how like it's a movie that the right has not latched onto, but like easily could if they like paid attention. So I'm hoping that if Nick Fuentes catches wind of that, then he can come on and we'll yell at each other. That's not
Robert F. Kennedy to say like make Gremlins like people have been the vaccines got rid of Gremlins and we can bring them back.
I saw a kid got a vaccine, became the girl Gremlin.
But yes, we'll have some spooky episodes, and you can listen to our episode with the hosts here on Halloween 3. So that was a good one.
Oh yeah, we had such a fun time.
And it was the actual Halloween episode. So Halloween.
Yeah, it was such an honor for us.
If you somehow don't think we talk about X-Men enough on this podcast,
I'm not sure any listener has ever said.
We also went and talked about X-Men. Had a great old time over there. So
I was like, I often feel shame when I'm editing our episodes, but I felt so ashamed because the other day I can't remember if I cut it out of the episode because of how embarrassed I was. This shows how like pathological I am. You asked me the name of the woman who is kind of like Wolverine in X2. And I told you X-23, which is, of course, that is like his daughter, like the Logan daughter. And that's Lady Deathstrike. I was listening to it and I was like, should I just cut out this whole section to avoid
I did not include this, but born like 3 weeks before I Show Speed and before this movie came out, it was Daphne Keane who plays X-23 in Logan, which is another film with real people playing themselves. Steven Merchant is really like that. Okay, that's enough of that. Evan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
overdue.
Me.
Great to have you.
Happy we could have you on for like a big one, though, a Hallmark film.
We sort of backed our way into like the most leftist Steven Soderbergh episode or Steven Soderbergh film, I think. So, very glad to have you.
Very arguably like more than Che, I will say. This film is more leftist. Yeah.
And we, Ian and I were talking about, we're going to have Mark Cuban as our guest for Che because he's an expert. All right. As for us, remember to subscribe, rate us, write a review, helps us on the algorithm. If you like the show, tell a friend, tell your dad, write it inside of a doll. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Podcastiform. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you're interested in co-hosting a 2-person Steven Soderbergh podcast, you can email us at podcastiform@gmail.com. All of this is at podcastiforme.com and at shootingyourselfinthehead.com. Thank you to Jeremy Allison for our artwork. We'll be back in 2 weeks to talk, what is it? Good German? I think
Good German, going to be a great episode. We didn't even mention that all of the dolls in real life have full Bibles in them. Full Bibles
in their diapers. They have Bibles in their it's a Christian doll factory.
Yeah.
Who will be our guest on the Good German episode, Christian Doll Factory. But if you can't wait that long, sign up for the Patreon. We got a bunch of cool stuff coming up, including, it might be out when you hear this, but my full Amsterdam download.
Oh,
if you want to hear me talk about a trip I went on, go to patreon.com/podcasty for me. And also send Evan money in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to do it for us.
He made quota this week, so he did a great job.
Yeah, he made quota. He made $1. Okay, bye.
Bye.